Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Viva Cafe con Leche. We are so happy that you are here today. I am the Bad Buddha, Lori, Monaco, coming from Eastern Tennessee, and today is the last day of Viva before 2024 starts. The last day of 2023, our last day of our season 4, and we are very, very happy to be here today. But my place is boring. Where in the world is Gladiator Guru?
I am in Santiago. It's my last day, as a matter of fact. As soon as we finish the show, I got to head to the pharmacy and then head to the bus station to head to France.
How exciting.
So, yes. Morning, Leanne.
Good morning, Leanne. So you are heading to France, and what is the next step? How long are you in France?
Just for the night, and then that's where I start my camino. So I get there. The bus is 14 hours, so I don't get there until 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Then I just find where we're going to be, spend the night, and then the next day, on the 30th, we're walking into the new year.
Wow. So you are actually, so for some reason, I thought you were starting the Camino after the 1st. So you're actually starting it. You're going to be celebrating New Year's Eve on the Camino.
Yes. We were originally going to start the 2nd, and then I said, no, if I am going to be walking steadfast and on solid ground into 2024, I have to be walking steadfast on solid ground into 2024. So we had a change of plan. So that's what we're doing. We're leaving here today, and then tomorrow will be Saint Jean Pied de Pont. Leanne, it's by Biarritz. That's like Saint Jean, and then it's the Pyrenees Mountains, but we can't climb over the peak of the Pyrenees, the Neapolitan one. We have to go the shorter version. Well, the lower version is called Val Carlos, but it still takes 7 hours to walk through to cross into Spain.
Wow.
And I say with Iris, we're going to be walking 12 hours. She just laughs, but we're just going to enjoy it because we're going to take, we can also stay in France an extra night, like mid-mountain. They have, so it's going to work. Either way we do it, it's going to work.
So where are you going to be New Year's Eve? You'll be in France or in Spain? You don't know?
In Spain. France is just for one day, yeah.
And that's going to be really exciting because wherever you're staying, they're all Camino people, right? Because so you're going to be ringing in the new year with people that you don't know, but they're also having the same idea that they wanted to be able to start, like, end their year and start their year on the Camino, which is very cool.
Well, yeah, like Christmas. We spent Christmas here because when we came here last year, we just fell in love with this place and we became really good friends with the hospitalero. So we came to spend Christmas with them, the people who work here. And Iris made Christmassy dinner, Puerto Rican style. Everybody ate. They loved it. And we all have, everybody brought wine. So there was wine. And then someone made a tarta. It's a Spanish style cheesecake. And then one of the girls that used to work here, Marianela, that comes on sometimes, she brought like a Romanian satin, not Romanian like we think, leaves. She's from Romania. So she brought this, it was just so delicious. And these things wrapped up in cabbage with meat inside. So we had an amazing Christmas, and Christmas Day cooked again. Not me, you know, I don't do that shit. But Iris cooked dinner last night because we're leaving today. So it was a good holiday. Hola, Milagros.
That's great. Yeah, my sister wrote, it's amazing to celebrate a new year with like-minded people. I did that in Peru 2 years ago. It's incredible. She also asked, do you go through Andorra?
No, the regions we cross are Navarre, Navarrete, La Rioja, and then we cross into León and Castilla, and then we cross into the region of Galicia. all the way till we get here. But like the first regions from Roncesvalles, Azuri, Tubiri, all of those regions, Pamplona, they're all Basque country. People, Bascos. So, but they speak a little different, but it's amazing. It's really amazing. But Andorra, I don't remember that, Leanne, but I'll check because that's all I've been doing is walking with my book, taking notes, writing in it and everything. The Camino, hold on 1 minute. I'm going to show you something. So you see this line down here, that's everything we're walking.
Oh, that's great.
That's 500 miles.
Now, is that a part that you've already walked or you have not walked yet?
No, I walked this in 2017 when I did it alone. This is the one I did.
Okay.
So you see here, it starts in Saint Jean, and then it has the little things, which is the mountains, and then you're walking all into Spain, all the way back to Santiago.
Now, where did you walk last year?
We walked Portugal from
down
here,
yeah.
Oporto, all the way to Santiago.
Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Does it make is it a loop? Like, is it a circle or no?
It's the northwest part of Spain. You're just cutting like this.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the main Camino.
Yeah, there's 5 of them. So far, I've only done 2. One of them twice and then 2. But they have La Primitiva, La Antigua, Del Norte, and El Invierno, something like that. But yeah.
So you think you'll ever walk any of those as well?
Probably. Yeah, probably. Yeah, of course. I think you have to do, I feel you have to do all of them. I met a lady here from Holland. She's done 26 of them. Beautiful older woman, late 60s, tall, looking like a model. By herself, she's done 26 of them. That's amazing.
Of course. Yes, it is.
And you're going to see people behind me because that right there is the entrance to the hostel. But I couldn't be outside because it's been raining since yesterday. And look at Leanne, I'll join you, Margie. Let's do it. So the back, when the pipe things, it has the rushing water. Sounds like we're at a waterfall. So that's why I'm here. But just for any, like we were saying the other day, I know we got to do our mantra because I miss doing that. But I just think that if you can do it, do it. If it's not gonna hinder you nor your loved ones, then you should do it. It doesn't matter if you're gonna take a trip 2 hours away from where you are. You don't have to go. If this may be the extreme for people, but I just think that if it's something you want to do, you feel in your spirit, then do it. Do it. Look at Leanne, Peru 2 years ago, and she's going again. Sometimes,
and even if it does hinder your loved ones, this isn't about them, it's about you. Because I know that I'm proud of Iritza because I know Iritza was getting some resistance from some of her family. And especially with because of the open-ended ticket, like people have this idea of you where they're like, I want to know everything. Oh, you're going? Well, how long are you going to be gone? Because it's inconveniencing them. And that's not fair. Like, if you put yourself so entwined into somebody else's life that things that they want to do for themselves causes inconvenience for you, then you really need to really look at your own life and say, that's not very fair. Like there's always things that we get caught into that is convenient for us, and it's not a bad thing, but then when there's never any oh my God, what's the word I'm looking for? There's no guarantee that our lives will go the way that we want them to go. And they'll stay steadfast the way that they are. So we have to learn to be very flexible. We have to learn to flow. There you go, Gail. And to say, okay, you know what? Then that's going to be inconveniencing for me, but I'm going to figure out a way. So
absolutely,
you go and you do that and you have a good time. I mean, look how many people have lost jobs that they banked on the fact that they were in that job for 15 years. They were going to stay there another 10 years and retire. And then all of a sudden they get the boot. And then what do? There's some that just completely lose it. and crash after that. And then there's some people that reinvent themselves. And it's the people that reinvent themselves that will always survive and always be happy because they know that they have the ability to shift and flow.
Mm-hmm.
But the people who are miserable and say, oh, you did this to me, and why are you going? This is uncomfortable for me. And what about me? What about me? That also on the other spectrum, on your side, is enough for you to say, I really need to cut the ties on this. Like I need to put the boundaries up and be very much in, let people know that no, you can't rely on me. You have to rely on yourself. So don't put that on me. So I'm proud of her because I hope she stays the whole time. I really do. I
Oh,
really
she
hope.
is. Listen, the Camino in winter, you're not gonna find many albergues open. I booked the first night and the second night, and the third night, which would have taken us into Pamplona, which is where every July the bulls run through the streets. It's a very lively city. The majority of the places that are inexpensive for pilgrims such as myself are closed till after the 7th because they do a big shindig and Three Kings Day on the 6th. It's very big here. So I told her we're gonna play when we're on our second day and we got there, because that's walking 21 kilometers. So that's like a 6-hour walk. We'll sit down and we'll call several places. And if not, we'll stop in between the big city and where we're at. There's some small ones. We'll stay there. We won't walk all the way to the big city that day. And then we'll walk past the big city the next day. So the options are available if you have an open mind to say, okay, this isn't working out. What's next? And that's how we're driving it.
Good.
So there's really no fear. El miedo se deja en la gaveta. It's not about this or that. But okay, so let's do our intention.
Let's set our intention and let's do our mantra for the end of the year. This is the last show of the year. This is the last show of our season 4. We start season 5 next week. So set your intention. We always want to be intentional on Viva. It means just have a purpose for your day. Today is the 28th. We have 3 more days of this year. Make them special. Do something very cool. Set an intention for what you want to do or how you want to be today.
Definitely.
And do it with set
gratitude.
There we go.
And do it with gratitude. And if you're going to do it with gratitude, tell yourself the truth. Push further than the perimeters that you have allowed yourself to live in. And if you set the intentions to say, this is what I want to do this year, pick it out. The first quarter, the second quarter of the year, break it down like that. And then what is it going to take to get there? And then do it, because only you can do it. Do it.
Good morning, Flavia. Flavia, we haven't seen you in a while. I'm so glad you're here. All right. Let's do our mantra. Say it loud and say it proud. Here we go. I am a disruptor.
I am a disruptor.
I am unapologetically courageous.
Unfortunately, I have to be. I'm in a public space. I am unapologetically courageous.
I am spiritually grounded.
I am spiritually grounded.
I am magically orgasmic.
Ole.
And I keep it real.
All day, no doubt.
All right. So today's topic is a wise woman once said, and here's what she said. A wise woman once said, fuck this shit. And she lived happily ever after. So the question is, this is what we're posing for you today between now and 11:59, December 31st. What doors are you going to close today? What doors are you going to close over the next couple of days? How big is the leap from the ashes? What have you become? So this is not necessarily saying, what are you planning to become? It's what have you become so far? Remember, we're not talking about the new year, new you. We're talking about the new you today. So if you have been still pondering upon this, we want you to really get it together for the next 3 days before even the 31st. So what doors are you closing today? How big is this leap going to be? And from the ashes, what have you become so far? So we wrote a few things. We said things like, what do I think? What do you think about yourself? And it could be positive, it could be negative. Negative's not a bad thing, because if you still feel like you're not quite there, you're going to be feeling a little bit negative. You're going to think some bad stuff of yours. But the goal is to flip it, is to flip it. If you're thinking bad stuff, you have to ask yourself, why am I still feeling this way about myself? Why am I still thinking this way? So what do I think? It's not about what other people think. It's about what you think about yourself. People's opinions of you are not your business. Never share your dreams with people who have no vision. We've talked about this all year. Like, we talked about this all year in so many different facets. So now we're asking you to really sit there for these next 2 to 3 days and really think. If you have not thought, we want you to sit there and think and look back at your year, because a lot of times we're hard on ourselves and we say, oh, I didn't get things done that I wanted to do. Like, I set a goal for my weight and I didn't reach that goal weight. But I have to look at it and say, well, how did I do all year though? Over the summer, I did great. I was pretty close to my goal weight. Well, not pretty close, but I was in really good shape. And then I allowed myself to sort of eat and pick and do things, in the month that I came before I came back, moved down here. So I have to look at that and say there were wins, but then there were things that I allowed to happen. So I'm the common denominator here, so I can fix this. So what is my goal for this year coming, and how do I feel about myself right now? I've been eating really lousy the last couple of weeks, and I'm feeling it. Like, I'm feeling it in my joints, and it's only just a further reminder of, I can't eat that way because this is what I feel. It has nothing to do with the weight as much as it has to do with how I feel. So what does that translate to? It means that I made bad choices, choices that didn't serve me. Not bad choices, but I made choices that didn't serve me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can you hear me? Te bañaste.
Okay, there we go. It's about hi Iris.
She said
It's
something.
about keeping yourself oh, they can hear you, Gladiator Guru. I'm the one who keeps freezing. All right. I'll stop talking. It's on my end. Go ahead, Gladiator Guru.
No, Gail, I like what Gail wrote. I think I am amazing with my ability to rebound and be resilient. What life sends on my way. I accomplished so very much in 2023, regardless of my circumstances. Amen. My word for 2024 is intentionality, and I look forward to huge changes. Oh, I love that word, intentionality. I'm going to use it. I'm not stealing it from you. I'm just going to use it because you shared it. So here we go. I'm writing it. Okay. And what the badass Buddha was saying, in a year, and your year can begin in March, it can begin in July, it can begin in October, it can begin in January. It is your year of when you're going to start moving your ass into the amazing individual you were born to be. See, everybody, that's why everybody fails on resolutions. They start when the supposed New Year's is. But to me, my New Year's is whenever I decide to take accountability for myself, right? When I decide to be committed to myself and say, I need something different. And if that different thing you're going for is only a short 3-month change in your life, it begins and it ends in 3 months, it's an accomplishment. Right? So how do you plan your year, or do you? So I live quarterly. I always plan in every 3 months, quarterly. This is what I'm going to do from here to there. If I can't do it, then what? Guess what I do? I'm not a failure. You know what I do? I'm going to shift it to the next quarterly.
Yes.
And I'm not going to change what's already in that next quarter of my life. I'm just going to add this, which should light the firecrackers up my ass a little bit quicker, so that then I can, okay, now I got an added goal to this, so I have to get it done. And how do you set goals? You can do vision boards. You can take a journey through your journal. You can write it on a paper, put reminders on your phone. In 2 days, you're supposed to start, blah, blah, blah. Talk to yourself through any means necessary. That's how change starts. You don't just think it in your head, because then it gets crowded with everything else. When you verbalize it, guess what? It comes right back into your ears, and then it's like, check. But if you need to see it, like the Badass Buddha has a vision board, then create one. Go to the thrift store and get magazines or whatever. You don't need to update it to get pictures that you like. Journal. Put reminders. Let me tell you, reminders on my phone is what's been really saving my ass, especially with my prescribed vitamin D. But like, exactly, you have to verbalize it out loud, because when you do, see, the beauty, the magic of it is when you say it out in your voice. You're gonna know it's yours, because you're gonna remember your voice, and you're gonna say, "Oh, that's me. I'm saying this. Now I gotta hold myself accountable." Okay? And not get mad when somebody tells you 5 months down the line, "Where didn't you say that by such and such a time you were gonna do something?" Because I say that, and people be like, "Oh, mind your business. I'm gonna do it." Why? Because they're not holding themselves accountable. It's not because I brought it up. So when the magic of speaking it into existence is that your spirit and your soul, now they hear it, because when it's trapped in your mind, it doesn't circulate through here. So when you say it out loud, it comes back in, and then it's like a good body massage. Speak it into existence. Tell yourself the truth. Make goals that are, if you had never tried it, start small goals. You're going to grow out your hair. You're going to grow out your nails. You're going to go and walk for 30 minutes a day. Small goals. And once you start accomplishing them, that confidence in you is going to build. And then you're not going to see a limit as to where you can go. And that's when a wise woman gets up and says, "Fuck this shit. I'm out." Because there are no more cages. There are no more locked doors.
I think that the whole point of today's conversation, we wanted to end this year with in your face inspiration. There's motivation, but there's motivation is great. It gets you pumped up, and it's short lived. But inspiration is something that really puts it deeper. Did you need to say something?
Yeah, just no, keep talking. I meant,
Oh,
because I'm
and
gonna come off.
it's about being like, we want to push you to say, like, okay, this is what you've accomplished already this year. Don't sit there and focus on the stuff that you didn't get to. This is what you accomplished this year. If you didn't accomplish the things that you wanted to this year, then you just have to ask yourself why. What happened? What got in the way? Maybe it wasn't important to me anymore, or maybe I didn't make it as important as I should have. Maybe I didn't set my mind to it and say, this is really important to me and I must get this done. But it doesn't matter. You have time to get it done. Time, though, is, we don't know how much time we have. So the question that we've been asking all year is to say, how important is this to you to keep going with this? And stop putting off and say, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. This is saying, listen, this is your life. You want to live it the way that you want to live it. What does that mean? How does that look? But you have to be clear on it. You have to be clear on all of those things, especially what it is that you want. And that's what we've been building up all year. We've been building up to make you the you that you are meant to be. All of it, the highs, the lows, the good, the bad, the beautifulness of yourself and your flaws. Flaws can be changed. They can be fixed if we choose to do that. So if you are looking back at your year, and there's a lot of things on there that you still have not dealt with, that you still don't want to deal with, that you for whatever reason you didn't want to deal with them, now is the time to ask yourself why. Why didn't I deal with this? Why didn't I take this? Why didn't I nip this in the bud? Why didn't I make that change? If you said in the beginning of the year that you want to feel better, that your health is not that great, and then you continued to do the same thing all year, saying, oh, I'm going to eat better, I'm going to start working out, I'm going to start doing this, and you didn't do it, you have to ask yourself, why didn't I? Why didn't I do that? If my health was a big thing at the beginning of the year and then I chose not to do, because that's your choice. I always laughed at like the show, that show like My 600-Pound Life or whatever it is, the show with those people that are so obese because they can't even get out of bed anymore. You know what? People enabled that. That person didn't just like wake up one day and they were like 800, 900 pounds and couldn't get out of bed. People were helping them get to that level. People were assisting them. So we are in charge of ourselves. We could sit there and say no more, but we also have to be very eyes open about how we're contributing too. Like, am I avoiding my life and taking care of somebody else so that I can avoid myself? You know,
Well,
um, anytime that I have questioned, you know, oh, well, I don't question, did I make the right thing about the move down here? Sometimes I'll sit there and say, well, maybe I feel a little bit bad that I left or blah, blah, blah. And then I get on a phone conversation with, unfortunately, like, a certain person. Um, and I'm like, nope, this is just making me realize I made the right decision to move down here and separate myself from everything that I moved from, because I've got to focus on me, and I cannot focus on these other people anymore. I wish them the best and I want them to be happy, but I cannot be a part of their stuff because it's not healthy. And so, there's a lot of reflecting. In fact, I have not had a chance myself to reflect on my own year, but I have to take the time to do that.
yeah, I wanted to say that when you're stopping to realize you didn't accomplish what you said you was, as the badass Buddha said, you ask yourself, do me a solid. Ask yourself as you're moving. Don't sit down and want to have coffee and then it ends into this. Ask yourself as you're moving, doing something. Why didn't I do this? What do I need to do? What held me back? Where was I? With whom was I with? And then build, discover, seek like-minded people. Doesn't have to have the same kind of goal. But if sometimes we stay stuck in the whys, and many think that's like how you go, but do it as you're moving. Whether you're cleaning the bathtub, like on your knees, scrubbing the bathtub, do it as you're moving, because that's the flow. You need to be in the flow when you're asking why something didn't happen, which is past tense. And where am I now? How am I going to begin it now? What do I need to do to begin it? Not how, because you can. But what is it that you need? And half the time, man, we don't need much. We just need that desire, like Gail wrote. Like, sometimes I realize what I don't do is really something someone else thinks I should do. When I choose what moves my heart, being consistent and taking action is effortless. So movimiento es vida. Movement is life. So even when you're
Yeah.
asking, why didn't I do this? Why did I stall? Why did I let that go? Let me tell you, and I'm only telling you this because that has been a problem of mine for many years. I would say the biggest problem was me speaking my stuff to people before I even started. If you started and you're going good, and then next thing you know, they're setting off doing with the idea that I said. And I always said, maybe I took too long in moving it, two things, or it really wasn't meant for me. I had to speak it to them so that they can take it and run. Either way, many things are going to happen. But if you're in steady flow of movement, it's not going to really hit you in the chest. Like, fuck, I didn't do this. I didn't finish this. I didn't even start it. And I had the opportunity. Past tense. When you're speaking like that, that's past tense. What can you do right now, right here, in this moment that you're playing, hitting rewind and start writing? Okay, I didn't do that, but as of today, I can do, which is a staircase leading you to your ultimate goal. But do it in movement. Don't just stay stuck and sitting there and pondering and Ave Maria, I can't believe I didn't do this, como se me fue de las manos, and you're just, and then your frequency is going down, and you're vibrating very low because of what didn't happen. Now you know what didn't happen, and out of the 5 things, maybe 3 of them you can make happen within the week. Think of it that way. That's movement forward.
That's right.
Anybody?
Anyone? Bueller?
Because let me tell you, if you don't move, people will say, okay, well, do this. Well, come help me do this and help me that. And because you don't have any goals, you don't have any dreams that are like vibrant, are you a follower? No, you have to be the leader of your life. People can tell you to do this, that, and this, and listen to this, and this is going to help you grow and everything. But you're your own garden. Remember, back in 2020, I always spoke. You're the gardener of your life. You have to move that soil around. You have to add to it. You have to speak to it. You have to celebrate it when it's growing. That is you. You are the gardener of your life. So no one else is going to come and water you. They don't want you to grow into this magnificent botanical garden that they know you can be. But you're behind. You don't realize what you are and how you're going to bloom. So sometimes it gets too hard, or it gets too lazy, or somebody pissed you off. That they're all excuses. And what's your favorite line, badass, with excuses?
Yeah, there's very few excuses. Most of them are just choices.
So you
Oh
have to
no, I'm thinking a mistake. Sorry, excuses. Yeah, I have no tolerance of excuses. Tolerance excuses are just your lack of accountability. You're making excuses to avoid.
And if
So
I love flowers, but I love to watch them on their bushes, on their stems. I don't like people buying me flowers. I don't like that type of flowers. But I think everybody can say when they walk around in spring and the flowers are starting to bloom, there's like, ooh, look in the mirror, that's you. And you might still be just a bud because you're not moving the soil around. You're not changing the pots because you're growing and you're still in that little pot. So there's no room to do anything else. That is you. If you don't believe me, look up about a plant or building a garden, the things you need to do to it. A garden breeds life. You are life. What are you breeding? Excuses, holding yourself back, blaming everybody around you. We must grow to be the beauty that we were meant to be. I don't know if I'm off topic, but I just felt I had to say that. A lot of people they see beauty on outside things growing, and you forget that you are a living garden yourself. Hi, Petey.
understand something too, that when you're starting to learn about yourself and discovering yourself, you will be open to a lot of possibilities. You'll listen to a podcast, you'll listen to us, you'll watch something and you'll say, "Oh, that sounds interesting. Oh, I like that." So
Absolutely.
if we're going to stay with the analogy of the garden, it's like the idea of saying, "Okay, excuse me, I'm going to plant the garden, and I'm going to get this seed and this seed and this seed and this seed." And then somebody says, "Okay, the way you have to do it is you plant the garden like this and you make rows of this and then you do this," and you say, "Okay, I'm going to do it." And you follow that. And then you find that, boy, it was really hard to keep the weeds under control with their suggestion. Or I really don't like, I grew this vegetable, but I really didn't eat it and I don't like it. So I'm not going to grow that next year. That's the whole point. You get started. But that doesn't mean that you have to follow exactly what the first thing that you've listened to is telling you to do. What we have been suggesting all year is for you to decide who you are, what it is that you want. And the only way to do that is to start on that path of self discovery, then become clear and clear about what you want and what you don't want. how you want to live your life and how you don't want to live your life. The only way that becomes clear is that you have to check in with yourself as you learn things. You know what? I like that. That works for me. You know what? I don't really care for that. That doesn't work for me. And you apply it. And then you do you. Because what works for me may not work for Gladiator Guru. And for me to say to her, no, you have to do it this way because this works for me, that's not fair. And all I'm trying to do is put my agenda on her. And if she wasn't a strong enough person, she would follow it. But Gladiator Guru is not that way. She'll be like, yeah, that's not going to work for me because she's
Mm,
clear on what it is that she wants and what she doesn't want. The same thing with me. So if you're still in that frame of mind where you're sort of all over the place, you still want to be very cautious. Well, I'll give that a try. Let me see how that works. I'll give that a try. Let me see how that works. But don't just dive head first with no concept of boundaries or clarity. And if you're not clear, still to this day, you have got to take those moments to pause and reflect on what you learned, what you heard, what you said, what was said to you, so that you can decide who it is that you are. See, that's why the name of this is so this last show is a wise woman once said, fuck this shit, and she lived happily ever after, because she's saying, I'm clear on what it is that I want and don't want. So I'm looking at this going, hell with that. And I lived happily ever after. Rather than somebody saying, you need this to be happy, you need that to be happy, you need to do this, you need to make this happen. It is about what makes you happy, not the other person, because everybody's so different. That's why there's so
it's
many
a,
products out there. That's why there's so many there's so many gyms. Like, think about the same item. There's so many different choices about. Like, why do some
yeah,
people like Verizon versus T-Mobile? Why do some people like the Edge Fitness versus Planet Fitness? Everybody is different. They all feel a certain way towards it. But the reason they choose that and they stay with that one, oh, I tried that one, I didn't like it, I like this one. Because they ask themselves, do I like this? Do I not like this? What do I feel about this? So you have to do the same thing. There's no perfect fit for every single thing. You have to find
no,
what fits.
you have to find
Barnett,
out
Barnett's in the
and
house.
discover who you are, and then you can't be led astray. When you're insecure or you self-doubt, then you start, oh, this one said this and this one said that. Most of the time one simply just needs to follow their intuition. When they follow their intuition, it's going to lead them to what it is they want to do. And then you research, and by research I mean listen to 20 podcasts that are saying similar things, so because there's one of them's going to be catchy and you're going to say, oh, I was on the right path. Oh, okay, that's what I need to do. Go on YouTube, watch 20 videos on gardening from different people all around the United States. That's how you do it. But if you're going to sit down and people are going to say, many people with different opinions, and then make sure that when you are seeking, it's a good day for you. Your vibration is flowing. Your frequency, it's not picking up any bullshit. You're focused. Because when you're insecure, when you vibrate low, then you're going to be taking advice from different people and their setbacks. So simply, what it is you want to do, know it in your gut. And your heart is telling you, yes, there's a pull. You feel a pull towards it. Research different people on the same topic of, I'm going to stick to my garden. Some flowers don't grow in certain months, and some only last a certain amount of time. And in Florida, you start gardening in March, I think, and the butterfly garden needs this and that. Be specific. And I think this is what it is. When that wise woman got up and said that, that's because she was specific in how she wanted to lead her life. And that, you know what? People are going to talk. There's always chatter. But who are you? And how strong are you to get from point A to Z your way where you're going to reach your goal? That's when you can say that. I'm done with this nonsense. I'm out. I'm going to live my life to the best of my abilities. I'm going to smile. I'm going to laugh. I'm going to dance in the rain. I'm going to invest in this. I'm going to build this. I'm going to sow this. And then I'm going to reap all the infinite joy because I moved. I created movement in my life. And you know what? We don't get there alone. You do need people. So if you don't have the peoples around you that are going to throw you nuggets of wisdom, nuggets of knowledge, but they're just throwing you rusty pennies, you have to discern, where is it I have to go? Who do I need to meet? Where's my tribe of like-minded folk? Not the same goal, but like-minded folk. Hey, I listened to this podcast the other day. It was my 59th podcast, and I finally got some good advice. You might want to hear it. There's no harm in us listening to it. It might not be for us, but guess what? We're going to run in and you reap what you sow. So when you share good information with people, it might be for them or not, but they might know somebody who needs it. That's reaping. That's a good farmer. That's a good gardener. You're reaping goodness. You're sharing good information with people. And then guess what? It makes full circle and comes back when you need something. Right then and there, somebody's going to reach out. That's life. That's the life of servitude. And then, but you must know what you want. And you could never utter those words. A wise woman once said, and she is me, until you become wise enough to know who is you.
The only way you're going to know who is you is for you to take the time to get to know her. I mean, and a lot of times, especially women are notorious for this. We're so busy with taking care of our children, grandchildren, other family members. We don't get a chance to know ourselves. And then all of a sudden we wake up one day and they always talk about how men would go through the midlife crisis, and because the reason they talk about men going through the midlife crisis, because women are always very quiet about going through that. They would get to a certain point in their lives and be like, what is there? Like if you lived your life around your children and then all of a sudden your last one goes off to college, you're in bad shape usually because you lived your life around your child instead of carving something for yourself. And there's nothing selfish about you carving something for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes there's an expectation, oh, well, my kid's going to go off to college, but then after college, they're going to come back over here. How many children went off to college and then said, I'm staying here? And in your head, you're like, oh my God, this whole time I thought that they would all come back towards where I was so that we could like have family get-togethers. But now this one's over here and this one's over here. And what am I going to do? You're going to do you. You're going to make a decision and say, do I want to even stay where I am? Because maybe it's not serving me anymore. Or maybe I'm just always going to have this home base. So when the kids do come in for the holidays, they have a place to be. Or maybe I'm just going to move to where one of them lives. Or I'm going to just go over there for the holidays. The bottom line is that you have choices. You will always have choices, and if things don't go the way that you had thought they would, you flow in a direction to make them go the way you want them to go now.
Absolutely.
We can't go back and change and have stuff that, oh, well, this was a great time in my life, and I want to be that person again. We can never go back to what we were, but we can take elements from what we were and become the new us. So one of the things that I've talked about before is I said that one of the things that I liked about myself in my 20s was the fact that I was an adventurer. I used to travel, they weren't long trips, but I would be out hiking, mountain biking. I'd be like working with animals, like all these things that made me feel great because I love doing them. And then in my 30s and my 40s, I just stopped doing that stuff. Like I made other decisions based on other people, and I decided I'm not going to do those things anymore. And then realized how much I missed that once my youngest one got to a certain age. And I started to realize she reminded me of who I used to be because she's just like me in that sense. And so now it's like, I want to be outside all the time. I want to be, dealing with animals. I want to be, that doesn't, to me, it doesn't, I hear people say things like, well, that's why I wouldn't get a dog because, I want to be able to travel and go and I don't want to have to deal with that stuff. I'm like, but that's you. I'm fine with having a whole like yard full of animals because that's me. So does that mean I can't travel anymore? No, that means that I have to be creative and say, if I'm going to travel, then I've got to find somebody to watch the animals while I'm gone. So I'm not going to restrict myself and say, well, I'm just going to have to give up traveling. I'm going to have to say, no, I want it all. And I have to figure out a way to make this happen. So I have to hire somebody to allow me to have this so that I could do that other stuff. So we are limited by our beliefs. We're limited by what other people have to say. I get so tired of that. I hear it all the time. People have to always impose their opinion on you with what they would do. And, there's nothing wrong with a wise woman once saying, well, that's you. That's not me. There's nothing wrong with saying that because you are clear about what it is that you're planting in your garden. Like we said, like that garden scenario, you may not plant the same things that other people plant, but that doesn't make your garden less than or wrong. It makes it the garden for you, not the garden for
Absolutely.
somebody else. And the
Yes.
interesting thing, there's always going to be somebody that will like what you planted in that garden. They're going to come, oh my God, I like all those things that you planted. I love what you did here. And they'll look at the other
Mm-hmm.
person's garden. That's not for me. But it's not a competition. It's saying this is for me. Well, what would you like to plant? I'll show you how to plant your garden. You don't have to follow exactly what I'm doing. You could if you want to, if it works for you.
Yeah. And let me tell you, going back to the dogs, many men, you want to read that?
Yeah, it says, Gail says, I went through a midlife crisis and cried for weeks. I say, a shrink who said I was looking back at my life, then looking forward and decided not to want the same anymore. I divorced a man I still love, but just couldn't live with anymore. Boy, my life took off differently after that.
Shut up, Gail. Stop telling my business because that's my life.
And then Alicia
Wow.
wrote, nobody asked if it's your own life. We can't live it according to others. That's right, Alicia.
Absolutely. But
Mhm.
you were talking about choices and it's true. We all have something. I got rid of everything except Evie Love. Now I was Evie Love. I can't travel with her the way you travel with your dogs. But I even have my niece is taking care of her. And I spoke to her before I left and I told her she'll be staying with my niece and my niece waters her and I've been looking online for car seats so that when I drive back to Connecticut that she is secure. Now Evie Love is my Chinese plant, but I love that's my love. Her name is Evie Love. She's the longest living plant that I have owned. I swear when I walk in and I say, hey, Evie Love, I swear her leaves dance. So it's like we got to choose what is good for us because when you learn who you are and you learn what you're capable of, then you learn what love is because that's really what makes the world go round. Love what you do. The one thing I found here in Spain is, like I said it last time, people here they don't live to make money. They live and the money comes. And I guess everybody lives differently, but money, you need money to do things. But you know what? When you decide that I am going to live my life according to me, because I need to fulfill myself with joy and happiness so that I can use discernment with anything outside of me, then guess what? Life does become easy. You have those boundaries. You know that there's no limit to where you can go and what you can do. And it's not about leaving and people behind. It is about walking away from the people who no longer serve you, the people, places, and things. I can't say this enough. And sometimes there's people who are in our lives right now that don't need to be taking up that space. We keep them around because we've known them forever or because they're family. And sometimes it's very respectful to say, I know you're concerned, but this is my life. I appreciate your concern if it's a parent, but I have to live my life the way you chose to live your life. And
Yes.
that's what it is. It's just setting those boundaries to saying, if my choice was not the correct one, then I will pick up the pieces. And when I pick up the pieces, I will rebuild myself into a stronger masterpiece. And that's how you can decide to pick up and walk away from anything, knowing who you are, where you're at, and where you're going.
That's right. Yep. So again, we're going to reiterate it this last time because we're almost done here. Almost done with the last show of the year. Could you believe that we are starting season 5?
Season
Season
5.
5. That's crazy. So, what doors are you closing today? How big is the leap that you are going to take? And it doesn't have to be the leap for today. It could be the leap for today. It could be the leap for next week, 2 months from now. You leap multiple times in your lifetime and in a year. So it doesn't have to be one big giant leap. Think of it as crossing a river and there's rocks. There's some rocks that are a little further away, and then there's some rocks that are partially in the water, and you're thinking, well, I could just leap really far and go to the bigger rock, and so I don't get my feet wet. But it might be so far that the consequences might be that you leap and you fall off that big rock and get really wet. So maybe what you have to do is take a smaller leap and just cross over and get your feet just a little bit wet to go to get to that bigger rock. So your leaps do not have to be extravagantly big. In fact, that's usually what throws people off is they get the fear kicks in because they're like, oh my God, I got to take this big leap and I can't do it. That's what happened to me last year too, with regards to that move to New Mexico. I felt I needed for myself to take a really giant leap, and the fear kicked in. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be all by myself. I'm going to be working 12 hours, 10 hours a day, plus my commute. And I'm leaving my 2 children home all day long. And then in an area that we don't really know much about, that's on the dangerous side. And so all these things came through, and some of them were legitimate considerations and fears, but some of them were just that they were fears. And in the end, it worked out. It worked out as it should have, because this is where I really wanted to be anyway. I had said that I was only going to New Mexico for a year or two, and then I was going to end up in Tennessee. So everything works out. I was there for my dad, and I did feel sad and upset at myself when I made the choice not to go, because I got mad at myself and I was hard on myself, saying, "Oh, it's because you were afraid to go," and blah blah blah. But I realized that I didn't need to take that big of a leap. I littler leaps were fine. And so that is the question. How big is the leap you want to take? And how many do you want to take? How many are you willing to take? And from the ashes, what have you become? What, the phoenix that is rising up, the phoenix that has risen up, what have you become? And how many times can you reinvent yourself? Many times as you need to. You don't have to just rise from the ashes one time. I think Dumbledore's bird rose from the ashes multiple times, if you think back to Harry Potter. So you don't have to just do it one time. You can keep doing it. Every time you feel like you need to morph into something else, then do it.
Do it, because you got to give yourself permission. Give yourself permission to live your best life. If you do not give yourself permission, people will give you, what's that word I want? They'll minimize things for you. You can only go this far. Okay, when you're done with that, then you can go. When you give yourself unlimited freedom to follow your dreams and live your life, and it's like I told Badass, that was a blessing, that everything that happened for her not to be there, because sometimes when we want something, It's not what the universe or God wants for us. And his no just means not now. And that not now was what led her to be exactly where she wanted to be. So you have to trust. You have to trust in something bigger than you so that you can learn to trust yourself. And because life was, you were given life to live it. And if you choose not to live it, do not complain about how other people are dressing you. And I guess that's it. We're going to be closing up because we both have things to do by 3. But let me tell you, everything that the Badass Buddha asked, I hope you wrote it down because it is very imperative. And if it doesn't serve you, share it with somebody who might need a little jump start in their life. Because those questions might offend people because they're deep. And a lot of people don't want to delve deep inside themselves to discover, who are they? What am I doing? What am I supposed to be doing? What can I do? What shouldn't I do? They don't want that. So be the person that says, I'm going to try it. Be the person today that if that's something you've never done or was afraid to do it, at least say, I'm going to try it. I'm going to pick one of the questions that are less intimidating to me right now. And I'm going to work on it. Give yourself 7 days. Give yourself 7 days to work on each question so that you don't feel intimidated or pressured by them, because the questions are for you, not for anybody else. So give yourself that time. Give yourself that grace period. Give yourself the permission to learn who you are, what you want, and what's fun. Make your heart flutter.
Look at that. And Flavia's repeating Gail's word, intentionality.
Yeah,
And she's
it's
saying,
a beautiful
yay.
word. It's a beautiful word, but remember, nobody can do it but you. Be the best you can possibly be this January 1st. Be the best you can be today. As soon as you finish this show, it's 9 o'clock in the morning over there. It's 3 o'clock here, and my bus leaves at 5. So I got to get a push on. But anytime that you decide to make a decision, that's the perfect time for you. So let's just pontes en la pila, pick up your big girl panties, strap yourself up by your own damn bootlaces, and let's start. Let's start fresh.
That's right. And Happy
¿Vale?
New Year to everybody. And
Yes.
yes, we can't wait to see Gladiator Guru will be on her journey when we see everybody on Tuesday the next year. So remember, a wise woman once said, fuck this shit, and she lived happily ever after. So thank you, everybody, for coming on. Happy New Year. We will see everyone on Tuesday. And really take this time to look inward and reflect on yourself and your year. All right?
Yes.
From the Badass Buddha, remember, be you, be real, and be extraordinary.
Happy New Year's. And from the Gladiator Guru, mi gente, remember to breathe in the beauty and breathe out that bullshit. Namaste.